Hello, hello, hello again. This is Austin, aka MungBeans, and I'm here with another hand analysis for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed yesterday's, and yeah, I think this is going to be something that I'm going to continue doing each day, and yeah, we'll find out where it goes, and I think I'll learn a lot. I hope you guys learn a lot. Yeah, so let's jump into it. Okay, so this is a 5 cent, 10 cent, 5 cent, 10 cent table, played online at wcop.com, as you can see. And let's see what happens. Okay, so we are under the gun, and we are dealt ace, ace. Beautiful hand to be dealt. Always feels good. So I think this is an obvious raise here. I think it's debatable how much you can raise. It depends on how you've been playing your other hands. If you've been playing your low hands or your mediocre hands with, I don't know, your above average hands with 3 times the big blind, and then all of a sudden you play this one at 5 times the big blind, that's going to be a little bit obvious for someone who's paying attention. Now, are people paying that close of attention? Maybe. I don't know. I think it's probably doubtful, but still, it's a good habit to get into to be disguising your good hands by either raising higher big blinds with your just above average hands, so that your premium hands are disguised, or um, bet lower with your premium hands so that they're disguised by your above average hands. Okay, so I bet 3 times the big blind, middle position calls, dealer folds, small blind folds, and the button or the big blind calls. Okay, so we got some action here. Ideally, what you would want is one person calling in this situation. Um, but we've got two. It's not a terrible situation, but still, I guess that might be an argument for raising a little bit more pre-flop to maybe drive out one of. I don't know if that'll actually drive anyone out, but yeah. Okay, so then the flop comes 10 king 4 rainbow. Okay, so this is a pretty good flop for us. I mean, um, it does hit um, it does hit some hands that beat us, but overall we're not facing huge draws except for Queen Jack. And yeah, we're doing okay overall. Um, we're beating all kings, we're beating all tens, we're beating all fours. We're beating Queen Jack. And yeah, we're doing okay. What we're losing to is we're losing to King 10, we're losing to pocket 10s, we're losing to pocket 4s. I don't think anyone would have King King because they would have raised pre-flop. And that's what we're losing to. So we're probably beating more hands than we're losing to, especially given how a wider range of what they're holding pre-flop. So we're probably pretty happy with this. We'll do another analysis to see, well, I guess we can bring it up right now, what kind of hand range they might have. Okay, so this is the big blind hand range that I came up with. As you can see, I didn't include the big pairs because he'd probably be raising me if he had the big pairs, or if he had ace king, ace queen, ace jack suited. Ace jack suited, that's debatable. Um, but okay, so look, he hits these kings. He hits these sorry, he hits these kings, he hits these kings, he hits these tens, and he hits these tens. But everything else he misses. So what percentage of hands is that? That looks like maybe a third of the hands. So we're doing pretty good if that's his pre-flop range. Now for this guy, I came up with a more conservative pre-flop range. How's he doing? Well, he hits these kings and he hits these tens. That's more about like a little less than half of his range if he's playing this conservatively. So maybe we should be a little bit more worried about that guy. But as it turns out, happens a little bit differently. So let's see how it happens. So this guy checks right here, trial at 686. MungBeans, which is me, I bet half the pot, and Canales calls, and boom, here's the twist. Trial 686, check raised. So that's a pretty strong play, and it's a pretty strong check raise, 4 times the big blind, or 4 times my bet. Um, so, um, so what are we thinking here? Well, a check raise like that into 2 different people kind of indicates that he's got something pretty good. I mean, if he's trying to check raise bluff, it'd be more successful against one person. So either he's got something good, or he's a maniac, or yeah, I guess it's one of the two. I'm not sure, um, but I would guess it's one of the two. And okay, so what could he have if he has something good? Well, he could have king 10, he could have pocket 10s, he could have pocket 4s. He could also be semi-bluffing. That's the third option. He could be semi-bluffing with queen jack. So if he's semi-bluffing, we're still ahead. So I guess, yeah, we're still ahead. So okay, so now I'll pause it and let you guys figure out what you would do in this situation. Would you fold, would you call, or would you raise? So I'll give you guys a second. Go ahead and put it on pause and try to figure it out. Okay, so hopefully you guys put it on pause and came up with an answer. Okay, so I don't like folding here because we still have a pretty good hand, and we are beating his queen jack, and um, I, we're getting really good odds still. He's giving us 3-to-1 pot odds here, and I'm not sure we're that far behind. Actually, I know we're not that far behind because I've done the analysis, but we'll come to that later. So we're not that far behind, even if he has 2 pair or a set. I mean, specifically, he has 2 pair, we're still pretty good. Um, if he has a set, we're a little bit more far behind, I think. Um, okay, so given that, I'm going to elect to call, and raising here, you could do it, but I mean, it seems like a bit of a risky play given how strong his check raise is, and we're not in a great situation. I mean, he seems to be telling us I have a good hand, so a raise here would probably be a mistake. Okay, so I elect to call, Canales folds, and we head into the turn. And boom, what a beautiful card. We hit an ace on the turn. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that we are now beating all 2 pairs. We are beating all sets. We are not beating the straight, which just made it, and we're not beating a runner-runner flush. Well, we are beating a runner-runner flush draw, but we have to watch out for a runner-runner flush draw. Okay, so in this situation, well, first of all, what does he do? He bets $1.75, which is giving us about almost 3-to-1 odds. Is that right? No, a little less. I'd say like 2.5-to-1 odds, pot odds. And yeah, so what would you guys do in this situation? Would you fold? I think it seems like a bad option. Or would you call, or would you raise? I'll give you guys a second to pause and think about it. Okay, so hopefully you guys paused and thought it through. What I'm thinking here is, well, okay, what actually went through my head during the hand was I'm a little bit scared of that straight. So it seemed like, for one, it seemed like he was either betting low to try and draw with the flush, which I should raise in that situation. Or he's betting low because he has the straight and he just wants to get his money in, and he knows I have a low stack, so he's getting it in slowly. Wants to ease me into getting all my money in or something like that. So I was a little bit scared of the straight, so I just called. However, what is a good play here? Well, if we raise, what are we accomplishing? Are we going to accomplish getting a better hand to fold? Well, probably not. If he has a straight here, he's definitely not folding to a raise. Is he folding? Are we going to get him to fold his worse hands if we raise, which we don't want? Well, he probably won't fold two pair. He definitely won't fold a set, and he may fold the flush draw. So there's an argument for raising. Um, Now, how about calling? Well, if we call, we get to see how he acts on the river. If he's a little more passive, then we know he probably doesn't have the straight, or at least he's slow playing it again, or not again. Um, and what else do we accomplish by just calling? Well, we're not really pot controlling because my stack is pretty small, so the money's probably going in no matter what if he has a decent hand. And he announced on the flop that he does have a decent hand. So it might be a moot point, but I don't know. By calling, I'm not sure what we might accomplish. Yeah, it's a good question. Um, I think a raise here, we're going to get looked up by the straight. We're going to get looked up by lower sets. We're going to get looked up by two pair. So if he has something like king trash and he's just a terrible player, then we might get a fold, but let's assume he's a terrible player. I'd say overall a raise might be the good play here, but what I elected to do was to call. Okay, so I called and bam! We just hit the nuts. We got the best full house on the board, and we are now beating the newly created flush. We are beating the straight. We are beating um, lower sets, which are now also full houses. Okay, so we're looking good, and he goes all in, which makes us very happy because we can quickly call and win all the money. And what does he turn over? He turns over king 10. So he had the two pair, and that's what he was check raising on the flop. So he, at the end, had a worse full house than us, and so we ended up winning the pot. So that's what happens. Okay, so, oops, let's not replay it. Let's check out the numbers a little bit. Okay, so as I showed you guys earlier, here is the hand range for the guy who was in middle position who was calling. And I'm still a little bit skeptical. It seems a little bit too tight to me. I don't know, but this is assuming that he's a very tight aggressive player. I don't know anything about the guy, and we're not allowed to use heads up stats on World Series of Poker, so we don't have heads up stats. So I'm assuming he's good until I find out worse or find out he's not good. Okay, so that's his starting hand range. Here's the big blind hand starting range. As you can see, it's a little more open, and I think that's because um, big blind is last to act, so he doesn't have to worry about someone raising after him. So he can be a little bit more liberal with how he calls. Of course, he doesn't have position afterwards, so I don't know. Okay, so but how are we doing against these hand ranges? Well, we are at a 67% advantage to win pre-flop. Oops, I just did the flop. Let's do pre-flop. We are at we are at a 69% advantage, or 69% chance to win, 69% equity, and they are 16% and 13%. So we are in good shape pre-flop, very good shape, as you probably would expect with ace-ace. Okay, so how are we doing on the flop? Well, when the flop comes King 10 4 rainbow, and we evaluate this again, based on their ranges, we are still looking very, very good. That's because they're missing with a lot of different hands. But when you take into account that this guy is check raising, we can narrow down his hand range a bit. So this guy folds out, and let's narrow this guy's hand range down to Queen Jack, Queen Jack, King 10, King 10, 10 10, and 4 4. Okay, I mean, he could be playing King X like Ace King, but he probably would have raised pre-flop with that, or maybe King Queen or something like that, but he's probably not check raising with those. Okay, so let's narrow down his hand range to these. How are we doing against this? Okay, so check it out. Very surprisingly, to me at least, we are almost 50-50, 48-51, or 49-51 against this guy. So when his check raise comes, and he's betting, he's giving us 3-1 pot odds, it's a no-brainer when we have 1-1 calling odds, that we call there. So, I mean, obviously, you don't necessarily know this during the hand, but in hindsight, it was a very good choice to call. Okay, so we called there, and then the turn comes the ace of clubs. And now, how are we doing against the hand range? Boom, we are ahead 60% to 40%. Okay, so in this situation, we were ahead. So when he bet, probably the better play would be to raise, since when you're ahead, you want to raise. Okay, so then the king comes, and how are we doing? Boom, 100%. We got the nuts, which is nice. Okay, so there's that. Now let's figure out how we're doing against his actual hand. King 10 suited. Okay, King 10 suited. Okay, how are we doing pre-flop against him? Okay, we were beating him 70% to 15%, with the other guy taking the other 15%. Okay, and then on the flop, how are we doing? He is beating us 72% to 27%. Okay, so now let's figure out our pot odds and can't think of the word, I guess our odds of winning. So we are still, the pot odds are the same. It's about 3-1. And the odds of us winning are about 2.3-1 against. Okay, so even if we knew he had King 10 and he had hit the flop, we would still be profitable to call his check raise. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, and then when the ace hits, we already have him dead. He can't get anything to win. And then the king hits, and we're also got him dead. Okay, so that is my poker analysis. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope that this improves your game, maybe just incrementally, and you guys learned something from this. So this is MungBeans signing off. Have a great day.